All right, folks, it's been a while, but we are back with the ATB NFL live show for week 13 of the NFL season. Joining me, as always, when we are able to show up, is Tony and Zach here. My name is Shayne Kubis, of course. A lot of stuff has happened since we were last on, but we're not going to try to rehash it all. That'll be a 3 hour show instead of our normal hour and 45 minutes. We don't want
Who
to
are we
do
kidding? It'd be
that.
5 hours.
Yeah, realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, just for my team, there's a lot happened that I'd have to talk about, which I will bring up a little bit later when we get to them. But we are back again for week 13. We're going to talk about a few different things here before we get started. Mostly just the MVP race. We want to throw our hat in the ring as far as trying to sort that out. It's a weird year where there's not many guys that are truly playing at like a MVP level, in my opinion. There's a couple that have definitely stood out, but we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get into our games for the week. Just 12, so a little bit of a lighter slate this week. We did have a Thursday night game, of course, too. That was kind of a barn burner where the Seahawks just kind of decided not to block anybody in the last, 4 minutes of the game. So that's definitely a decision. But we're not going to hash that one not too much. Let's start, guys, with our MVP race. We're going to give our top three currently at this point in the season. Obviously, a lot of season left to go, but we're kind of starting to finalize a few guys who are at least in contention for the award. So I'm going to go to Tony here first. Give me your top three from 3 to 1 right now.
All right. I'm happy we're going from 3 to 1. So that's the order. Like, I don't know. The order plays itself nicely. So number 3, I doubt he's going to get any votes because of team performance, but most years the winner of the MVP award leads the league in total EPA. Yeah. Right now, Josh Allen leads the league in total EPA, has 124.3 EPA. Brock Purdy is second with 108. Dak Prescott is third with 92. He has a mountainous lead on total EPA, and it's because he's doing everything when the team's performing. And EPA is a function of yards, not points. So he is really good at getting the team to better positions than they previously were. Unfortunately, it hasn't shown up in the results this year, but anybody who's telling you Josh Allen isn't a top 3 quarterback this year isn't watching football. He's not going to get it, but he has to be on my ballot because he is leading the league in total EPA. Second on my list is the person I actually feel is most deserving of the award. I don't know if they are going to win it, although getting the luck of the Seahawks not closing out that final drive does help that case. Dak Prescott is playing, at this moment, the best football in the NFL. He is surgical. He doesn't do it in the ways that Josh Allen, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts do it, but he is not making a wrong decision at any point during his games lately. And like I know the 49ers loss early in the season had me not thinking about Dallas the way I thought about them going into the season, but they're back and they're all the way back, right? Like that offense is explosive, the defense is good, but what Dak is doing, that CD Lamb pairing, it is incredible stuff. I think that he is the most deserving. I don't know if he'll actually win it, and that leads me to the person I think will win it. Historically, MVP is a quarterback award, and it's the quarterback of a team that has a first or second seed. It's really rare to get a wild card team with an MVP. It's even more rare to get a non-playoff team with an MVP. So Josh Allen, sorry, you're out of the ring. You're just on my list. Dak, you're not winning the NFC East. So tough luck. That's probably why, even though being most deserving, he's not going to get it. That leads me to Patrick Mahomes. It's not fun to think about, but and the offense has been uglier this year than we've seen it. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is fourth in total EPA. They are going to get the first or second seed in the AFC, and he's doing it with nothing around him. I know last year they traded away Tyreek Hill and had their best offense under Mahomes. This year has been completely different. Eric Bieniemy is gone. The receivers are trash. He's making it work all on his own. So I do think that at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is going to win it. Just because of that. It's not his best season, so it's weird to think about. But just because of all of those factors I listed out, I think Mahomes is winning.
I think all that's very fair. Before we get to Zach's here, I think that the whole thing with Allen, you're right. Just in terms of his down to down play and what he's done for that offense, it's very hard to watch them and not go, okay, this guy is one of the best in the NFL this year. But at the end of the day, again, it's results driven business, and the results haven't been there as much as they should be theoretically. that's the thing about EPA is like it is theoretical to a certain degree where, it's about how much you produce, but those points don't always show up. And for the Bills this year, those points just haven't shown up at times. And it's unfortunate for them, but that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. So I totally agree with you having them in your top 3 of those.
And the interesting thing there is they have 4 losses where Josh Allen put them ahead under the 2-minute warning. Mm-hmm. Just think about if the defense held up in a couple more of those games, what the narrative would be. So you're 100% right. Like what's happened has eliminated him, but the good football's there.
Yeah, it's still there. And the defense obviously has its own issues with injuries and everything else. So it's kind of hard to say. It's just like, oh, the Bills are just bad. It's like, no, there's a lot of factors there. But again, it is unfortunate the way it's played out. But let's get to Zach here. What do you have for your top 3 to 1?
All right. So I thought of this more of like looking towards like what's going to happen towards the end, like throughout the end of the season. And one name that I really want to see, and I'm having this at 3 because the chances are a long shot. But I think under the right circumstances, if certain things happen, it could happen. Tyreek Hill. He is having a hell of a year. Currently sitting at, what did I just had it up, 1300 yards, 1,324 yards.
You might be able to convince me as them.
And 10 touchdowns. There's still 6 games left. With the way that he has been producing this season, it's definitely easy for him to break 2,000. Although I think the thing that's going to have to push higher is the touchdown total, is for him to get in the end zone more. So that's my number 3. My number 2, I definitely agree with Tony. But I guess one that I'll also push out there and very much deserving as well. And I'll actually throw this one in for my like number 1-2 seed, Lamar Jackson. He is pushing and being the prime behind the Ravens and doing everything that he can to keep them in. The pass catchers have finally caught on and been like, oh, hey, if we help him out, we actually do pretty well. So it's been nice to see them actually like performing. And at this point, they are the best team in the AFC. Nobody is playing better football than the Ravens at this moment. However, for number 1, if Tyreek Hill reaches that point of being the MVP, an MVP candidate, serious MVP candidate, then you're likely going to have to include Tua, who is passing him the ball just as much and getting him all of those yards and getting them all those touchdowns, because then that's going to inflate his numbers. If Tyreek's doing well most of the time, everybody else is doing well as well, and the Dolphins offense is humming. They have a couple games over the next couple weeks where they really need to get things figured out before Baltimore. Once they go to Baltimore, it's do or die time. So if they can get stuff figured out and that offense humming and have another classic like they normally do with the Ravens, then I could definitely see Tua sneaking up into the 1-2 seed and sniping a very, very early MVP.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Tua, I think it's going to hurt him ultimately, and it's just because the nature of the award, a lot of the time, there's an onus put on efficiency to a certain degree at the quarterback position, especially if there is somebody who falls in that category. I think the way Tua plays, the turnovers the numbers are going to be there turnover wise, where I think they're probably going to find a way to not give it to him, even if they play very well down the stretch. Like if he puts up big numbers down the stretch, but it's like, 2 touchdowns here, 3 touchdowns here, but a pick or 2. Because one thing about Tua, and like I don't think it matters much, especially against certain teams, but he'll give you 1 or 2 a game. It feels like, just because of the way he plays, and you live with it because of how great the offense is normally. But like, so I'm not telling him to change, because you can't ask him to change that. But I think that might be what kind of hurts him the most in the MVP case, if he does, even if he plays well down the stretch.
I think the turnovers, all of the top quarterbacks kind of have those this year. This is very much a year to teach casual fans that turnovers are not really a problem. Like Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers, leads the league in touchdowns, leads the league in total EPA.
Right.
It is all about opening the funnel, right? Like, so Tua throwing turnovers, not a problem. Jalen Hurts throwing turnovers, not a problem. Patrick Mahomes throwing turnovers, not a problem.
I think the only time it matters if you turn the ball over is if you're somebody like, and I don't want to put him here, but like Sam Howell or like Josh Dobbs, where it's like, oh my gosh, like, oh, the world's caving in, and all of a sudden it's 1 turns into 2, turns into 3, and it's a cascading effect. If the floor is going to get pulled underneath of you, but then you have these other quarterbacks like Josh Allen, like Tua, like Patrick Mahomes, where, oh man, turnover, all right, turn it off, new drive, time. That never happened.
Yeah, you just go back for the other one. I think like the Derek Carr turnovers are the worst because he's not giving you the risk taking positives either. He's just giving you the negatives. But on Tua, I like he fits the bill. He is 100% going to be on ballots this year. My concern is that your number 3 pick will also be on ballots this year, and they're going to split any votes that the Dolphins offense would get, and kind of just eliminate each other from the race, despite each of them deserving and getting votes.
I think that's actually a good point too. But I think the thing also, as far as terms goes, I think situationally is when they matter the most, especially for the top quarterbacks. And unfortunately for Tua, there's been a couple of moments where people are going to point to and say, "Oh, that the fumble or the one interception against the Eagles," or like they're going to pick apart his particular ones, even though most of them weren't very they weren't really mad. They didn't matter much. A lot of his turnovers. So that's another thing I think I could see people doing because again, that's what they're doing when it comes to the MVP races. They got to pick apart the guys and see, what reason to keep them off.
Well, at that point, then it's just Jalen Hurts.
that's kind of the issue.
Are we gonna ignore Jalen Hurts' team bailing him out of multiple bad turnovers? Of all of the top QB MVP candidates, he has hurt his team the most with turnovers.
Yeah, they've just sitting at 10-1 still.
Yeah, the rest of the team is just bailed him out.
Just ignore everything else. They're 10-1. They're winning.
Right, exactly. And that's what's gonna. I think that's the thing though. Is like what might separate those two in particular is just the fact that one team is going to be maybe the best record in the NFL, and the other one probably will not be. So it's tough, but it's funny, Zach. I'll get into mine. My first two are the same. I had Tyreek Hill at third because I felt like he deserved to be for a shout out here. He's the ultimate game-changing weapon in the NFL, right? That's the end-all be-all of it. He is, as far as non-quarterbacks on offense go, McCaffrey's awesome. The 49ers have awesome guys. Like there's A.J. Brown is awesome, right? Nobody is as scary to everyone else on the field when he's on the field as Tyreek Hill. Because even the best defenses understand that if he gets a step, it's over. You're going to just be walking back to the sideline. Like that's the type of speed this guy is, the type of weapon he is. It is so hard to deal with him whenever he's on and whenever Tua is on. It is just a special type of combination, right? So you have to give him a shout out there. I also have Lamar Jackson at 2. I think that for somebody who's watched him throughout his entire career as an AFC North fan, as a fan of the Steelers, finally seeing him play in an actual offense that is like a modern, passing offense to a certain degree and still has a good run game and everything else. Like the stats aren't there compared to some of the top guys, total numbers. I think that's what's going to ultimately hurt him. But if you ask me, like, who's playing the best quarterback in the NFL this year overall, outside of maybe Dak, who is going to be my number one choice here, it's probably Lamar for me. Just as far as watching him play football, that's who I'd probably have. And then I do have to give it right now to Dak. And the main reason I say that is, again, I think he is the best combination of team success, of personal play, and just the way things are rolling right now. He's on that heater stretch right now. He is kind of putting himself in a position where if the Eagles lose 1 or 2 games down the stretch, if he's able to continue to play at this level down the stretch, he's probably, even though Hurts is currently the favorite, I think he can surpass him if he's playing better than him down the stretch and also getting closer to at least, a similar record to the Eagles, right? So I think he has the best opportunity to pass him. I do think Mahomes, like you said, Tony, I wouldn't be surprised if he ultimately comes away with this award, especially if either Hurts starts to falter a little bit even more, if Prescott doesn't keep this up, and also, like you said, the Chiefs are going to have one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC most likely. So, but I would give it to Dak right now. And I've always been someone who's been not necessarily critical of him, but like he's always been kind of a fringe, like top 10 guy for me most of the time. Some seasons he's firmly in there, some seasons he's not. These last like 6 or 7 games in particular, he has turned a corner that I've never seen him turn inside of a season before. And I'm curious if he can keep it up through the rest of the season. So, kind of hoping that for him and hoping that he can. Weirdly enough, actually, I was worried about the Cowboys' offense coming into the year, and it kind of started that way, and they've turned it around for their credit. Give credit to Mike McCarthy to a certain degree too. So
he has been willing to pivot more than I ever thought he would.
Exactly.
Like that man did not stay committed to his shitty game plans early in the season.
They figured it out.
This offseason, when we were talking about Mike McCarthy and the impact he would have on the Cowboys, I said, I think the Cowboys will get the 1 seed, and I think that Mike McCarthy is going to cost them in the playoffs. Like, it's not going to be a problem until it's a serious problem, and I still think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that still will not surprise me if that happens. But again, MVP is a regular season award. I'm sure that he could still very much get himself in conversation there. All right, let's jump into the games now, guys. So first, we're going to do with our kind of meh games as always. We're going to start there. Chargers Patriots. Man, the Chargers, man. What do you say? Like what do you say about the Chargers? The Patriots are their own issue, which I'm sure you guys are just giddy with the way that that team is playing. Just
they beat us this year. I can't feel as much
I
positive
guess
emotions I want to feel.
You do have that one negative. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But again, these two teams. I mean, the Patriots obviously didn't have the biggest expectations in the world or anything, but two of the more disappointing teams in the NFL. I mean, I didn't expect the Patriots to be a top 3 bad team this year. It's just hard to predict something like that for that franchise. And then the Chargers just keep disappointing in new and spectacular ways, it feels like every week. But what do you think about this game, Tony?
I don't think about this game.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah. No, I just think like if this game happened early in the season, I do think it would be a very interesting watch.
Yeah.
But we saw last week how committed the Patriots are to this.
They're truly
they are
committed.
They kind of low key dominated the Giants and then still lost. Yeah. Now you worry about the positives of Bailey Zappi and his vibes coming in, but you know what? He's just Mac Jones drafted 4 rounds later, so I don't think we get anything special out of him. I really just think that this is. Brandon Staley is so happy that this game is this week because he was one more even a reasonable loss away from being fired mid-season, and he's not going to lose this one. No matter what, he's not going to lose this one. So yeah, give me Chargers 23-6.
Yeah, that sounds about right. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, no, this game is horrific. It's about time that Belichick pulled the plug on Mac Jones because it's just been
yo-yoing him, right?
Yeah, exactly. Don't although I will say, hey, Bailey Zappi is 2-0 in games he started, so
yeah, I mean that was different Patriots team.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is I could have told you this was going to happen from the Patriots offense at the start of the season because they didn't change anything, make any.
They ain't so good. Okay.
But the defense is what's really been surprising. I know it's been hampered by injuries and all that stuff, but it's really rough. So yeah, the Chargers need a win here. If they don't, then Staley is absolutely fired, even though he should be fired at the end of the season anyways. We've been saying this for
6 games ago, honestly.
He should have been fired last season. Let's be real here.
Yeah, I mean, I said that, but
yeah, we all did. I'm pretty sure. So honestly, part of me wants to pick the Patriots so that way it actually happens, but no, it's not going to happen. The Chargers are going to win 20-10.
Yeah, think of a flip of the Ravens game. You said that Bailey Zappi is just Mac Jones 4 rounds or later, Tony. I think he's Mac Jones, but instead of throwing picks with no confidence, he throws picks with all the confidence. He believes every throw he's going to make is still.
He's just a Mac Jones with confidence.
Yeah, he's just confident Mac Jones. But
so he's Mac Jones 2 years ago.
I don't know. He's just it's so funny. I think of the throw he attempted at the end of the Colts game, and I'm like, that guy throws picks and he does it proudly. That's awesome. I appreciate that, honestly.
We were just saying earlier, turnovers aren't a problem.
Yeah,
they're a problem when you're Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, they're a problem when you're Bailey Zappi. When you're throwing that play action shot to nobody, that ain't home. I don't know what you were looking at, but no. I'm gonna say Chargers 24-7. I think the Patriots really hardcore phoned it in about 4 weeks ago, and they've just been trucking along since then. So good for them. Next, Jets Falcons. I do not want to watch this football game.
Talk about even worse.
Because the thing that makes this worse is the Jets are somehow a more unserious football team, despite having 2 more wins, and we're supposed to have a really good season this year. Obviously, the Aaron Rodgers thing.
Because they have a defense.
Yeah, they have a defense, and they're it doesn't matter. It's all right. We'll just let the other team score points without the defense even being on the field. So that's what they started doing recently with the Fail Mary thing, as I'm going to call it, the new Fail Mary. That was the funniest play I've ever seen in my entire life. Shout out Javon Holland for doing that. I love that for you. What do you think, Tony, with this one?
Another one.
Yes,
one I don't
man.
think about. No, I think this is going to be really ugly because both of these teams are going to want to run the ball. They both play good defense. I think this one kind of gets ugly at the end just because the Jets defense is on the brink of quitting. You're seeing them start to get frustrated with each other. You're seeing them like this team is falling apart emotionally. And I think we're going to see them really get torn up in the second half by Atlanta's run game. So I think it's like a hard fought first half, 20, and like I'm not saying it's going to be high scoring. I'm going like 28-13 kind of thing, but I think it's going to get ugly at the end.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, no, I'm taking the under on this. Absolutely. The under is actually the lowest under of the entire week at like 33.5, and it's going to go under because both teams don't like Arthur Smith just doesn't pass. Like he does not call passing yards. He has zero confidence to call any passing. And like, yeah, the Jets defense might be ready to phone it in, but I think it's going to be next week, not this week, when all they have to do is worry about the rushing game. Like they have one aspect of an offense to worry about. They might be like, oh, we can squeak one more out. We can feel this taste of victory one more time. They're not going to. It's going to be very close. They're going to lose right at the end. I'm thinking it's going to be like 13-10, 14-10 Atlanta, because like Atlanta plays the most boring and bland brand of football that exists, and like they have the AFC South right now, or the NFC South right now, just because the Saints can't step out of their own way, and it's going to be amazing to watch them somehow fumble their way into this their division title. It's going to be insane.
Arthur Smith failing upward. You love to see it. The Falcons are one of the funniest teams in the NFL for me because they have a head coach who's just basically a meme at this point. And like, I always love when that happens. It's like, okay, now we have a guy we can make fun of while he's still actually coaching and probably going to continue to coach the rest of the year. And honestly, if they win the division and make the playoffs, probably next year too. And then they're going to draft they're going to find a way to draft Brock Bowers and put him at fullback or something. That's probably what's going to happen. Like, that's what I'm looking forward to. But like, yeah, these teams are somehow like they're both not good in my opinion overall, but for very different reasons. And like, a Tim Boyle masterclass is what I want to see, which for me is like 170 yards and only like one turnover. That's kind of what you have to hope for if you're the Jets. Also, target Garrett Wilson like 74 times if you can. And put him in the backfield. I don't care if you have to put him at tight end.
No, he doesn't exist. They don't have anyone.
If they choose to do that, can I up my score prediction to like 48-13? Because Jesse Bates is going to score more touchdowns than the Jets have all season.
This is very true. Jesse Bates will just hawk. The over/under on hawked balls by Jesse Bates should be like 4.
But do we really think the Falcons defense is going to outperform the Dolphins defense?
I don't really know if it matters.
There's no transitive property in the NFL. The Falcons' defense is legit, and the Jets are 1 week closer to completely falling apart. At some point, the floodgates are going to open.
Also, like, it doesn't really matter if Tim Boyle's your quarterback. Is the week-to-week performance? Is there any way to really indicate that? Because, like, he's basically just I don't even know what you call him. He's not even a placeholder at this point.
I just doubt he gets sacked 7 times again. Like, I just don't see that happening.
Maybe. Who knows, honestly? I mean, the Falcons' rush isn't great, but still. I'll say 20-6 Falcons. I think the Jets are bad, obviously, and not very good. The defense, I want to see a Cincinnati crime, though. I want to see Sauce get him once, Ritter, just because I think it'd be funny. But other than that, I don't really care what happens in that game. Dolphins, Commanders. Boy, the Commanders are an interesting football team at this point. Zach, they were giving us a lot of reasons to think they could fight a little bit early in the season. Zach, what happened? What happened to your boys?
I mean, to be fair, the game was 20-10 in the end of the third quarter. That's what they're going to be repeating over and over again this week. That's what they're going to be saying over and over again this week as they sack him over and over again this week. Yeah. But no, to be fair, they were only down 20-10 at the end of the third quarter last week. They just let the floodgates open in the fourth. Yeah, no, when they traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young, that was a clear sign from the ownership that they are completely selling house. And Rivera, Jack Del Rio definitely wasn't coming back next year. Rivera absolutely isn't coming back. I think there's a possibility that they might not bring Eric Bieniemy back. I think that would be dumb, but I there's a chance that he might not be coming back either. And at this point, Howell has given them no reason to have them bring him, continue to have him on the roster either. There's just too many, he's leading the league in passing yards and all this stuff, but for every positive that he shows, there's 3 negatives to pull up because there's just so many issues.
He's Ryan Fitzpatrick, Zach. That's who he is. Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's who this man. Ryan Fitzpatrick left.
He wants to be Ryan Fitzpatrick,
right? He wants to be Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that's the best.
Plays
he's not that yet.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Miami has to thank the Lord for Jalen Ramsey and their defense, because that's what's propelling them. I'm hoping that the return of a Shayne this week does not result in 1 carry and another re-aggravation, because that was very disappointing a couple weeks ago. Because he might be the piece that's missing. I don't necessarily think that is the piece that's missing. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But they need to figure out something with the offense because, yes, the defense can do you a lot, and Raheem Mostert is still playing fantastic offense and fantastic running the ball well. But you need to figure something out with the passing offense because it's vanished. It's gone. You don't have that spark, and if you can't beat the good teams, you need to at least hammer the bad teams. And last week was hammering, but the week before was not.
Yeah, fair enough. What's the score prediction for you?
Well, Commanders don't have anything, so I'm going to say 33-17.
Okay, what do you think, Tony?
Well, if you ever want to figure out your passing offense, you should play the Washington Commanders. Yeah. So that's Tommy DeVito.
Ask Tommy
I see. I keep saying that about a lot of teams, and then they don't do it. So
fair enough. I do have so Robert Jones is questionable. Robert Hunt is all the way back. He's no injury designation, which is awesome. Javon Holland questionable. Just losing Jalen Phillips. Jason Pierre-Paul isn't gonna replace everything that Phillips was giving you. He was playing elite football. So I do think that this defense is going to get got for a few of those long balls that Howell likes to chuck up there, but they're also going to get a ton of their own. I do think the Dolphins get right in the passing game, but not all the way, right? It's a bad secondary. That's going to help a lot, but I don't know if they figure out all their issues. I do think that the Commanders, because of that offense being able to just chuck up balls and rely on that kind of stuff, I think they're going to be able to always stick around. The Dolphins could be up 20-something points, and it's still going to feel like they are pushing to score. They're just going to lean on the ground game. So I want to say a backdoor cover happens in this game. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how committed I am to that, but why not predict it? Yeah. I'll go 34-28, which, yeah, that's the backdoor cover. I'll go 34-28. I don't think the Dolphins are at risk of losing this game, but I do think the backdoor cover is live.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Commanders is they're a week-to-week football team, right? Especially on offense. So there's always a chance that they go off on offense. We've seen multiple times this year. With the Dolphins, defense has played really well recently. They do lose a couple guys, especially Phillips. You already talked about him. Could possibly give that there's a lane there for them to score a lot of points. I don't think they can outscore them though and win. So that's kind of the thing is if they do cover, that's one thing, but I don't see them winning this game. Obviously, I'll say 34-24. I think that seems about right to me. You can see them scoring some points, like I said, just not enough to actually compete in the game.
Man, ultimately. Teetering right on the edge of the line, right there.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a 2-score win, just not a dominant 2+ score win. So. Next, Colts and Titans. I have this on med just because the Titans they're just not great at this point. Will Levis is playing out the string the rest of the year. I think that he's shown some flashes, obviously, so that's good for them. But the Colts are a weird team because
what's interesting is in the chat this says Colts Texans.
I noticed that as well. Yeah,
it
was a better game.
Yeah, I messed that one up, so I did change it for me. But Colts Titans. The Colts are a weird team because they're right now the 7th seed, right? But there's two teams in particular that we're going to talk about a little bit later that are right behind them in the AFC playoff standings, and are both to me more interesting overall of a team, of course. So I have a hard time thinking the Colts are going to ultimately stay in the playoffs, but you have to give them a ton of credit for where they're at this point. Shayne Steichen should be the coach of the year, in my opinion. That's where I'm at with him. I think he's done an unbelievable job. It's just again, like what do you say about the Colts that like are super interesting? Gardner Minshew's just it's fun for him that he's gotten to play again. Do I think he's a great quarterback by any means? Absolutely not. The offense is kind of it's good because of the way Steichen's calling it, but I think that it doesn't instill a ton of confidence. What do you think on this one, Tony?
I appreciate what the Colts have done this season. It has been fun. It's been exciting, but like you said, I don't think they are as real playoff contenders as the Broncos and Texans absolutely are, the teams that you were alluding to. Yes. Before I do anything about this game, I just have to say, can we stop giving Coach of the Year to bad fucking teams? Like, I get it. Yeah. It's cool when a team is supposed to be bad and they become average enough to sneak into the bottom of the playoffs. But can we look back at Brian Dable? Yeah, how's that going? Matt Nagy, how's that going? Like,
can we give it to somebody who it deserves to be like Mike
McDaniel? I get it.
Anthony Lynn won it and then got fired like the next year. The amount of coaches who get fired the year after winning Coach of the Year. Like, what are we doing here? There are good coaches in the NFL doing good jobs. Like, why isn't Sean McVay, like, he's doing more with the Rams than Shayne Steichen is doing with the Colts, no matter how cool it is the Colts are 500. So, sorry, mini rant over, but I want good coaches to win Coach of the Year going forward. No more of this give it to the bad team who overperformed. But
come on, so you mean you don't want D'Amico Ryans winning it this year?
I completely disagree that is the expectations were bad, but they are good. The Giants last year, we were all saying, oh, wow, they're a really bad team, but they're just getting lucky at the right times. Like, D'Amico Ryans, he can win it this year. I'm okay with that. Rant over. But Colts-Titans, I do think that the Titans are at the point now where they start to play spoiler. You know how they're either getting a 1 seed or playing spoiler. Every single season, that's what they're doing. So this is where a divisional rival goes down and falls out of the playoff race. Some Vrabel magic happens. Gardner Minshew hasn't been good. They've just been winning. So I think they punish Gardner Minshew a lot in this game. Give me Titans 17-14.
Yeah, I mean, with them being on the road too, it definitely helps the Titans' chances out there being at home. What do you think, Zach?
It definitely helps the Titans' chances being at home, as all 4 of their wins have come at home. The losses are I think it's the loss. Yeah, the only loss is to the Ravens, which understandable, and it was only 24-16. There's definitely an upset spot here, and that's what the Titans, like Tony said, are going to be doing all season. It's clear that they are on Will Levis. Will Levis, he's there for the time being. Tannehill's, I don't necessarily want to see him on the field for them again because it doesn't do them anything for their future development. Burks should be back this week as well, so we'll see how long he stays on the field this time. And it's a shame because when he's out there, he's doing some great stuff. I just would like to see a more consecutive weeks in a row. So yeah, I can see the Titans upsetting and something like 23-21. But I mean, the Colts are finding ways to like stay competitive and be competitive. Like I said, it's not like they're a good team, but they're like a mediocre team that can and that's what most of the NFL is anyways. When you really get down to it, like we're looking at our list here, we have 2 must-watch games.
Yeah, this week's a little light on the must-watches, I will.
They normally are, though. Like if you really sit down and look at it, most NFL games are not great games.
And this makes no sense. This isn't how things work. It feels like we burned a good one on Thursday night, so we're due for one less on Sunday. That is not how anything works, but it just feels that way.
Yeah, Thursdays are usually just so ugly.
At least it was a good matchup.
Yeah, it was such a good game.
Yeah, the matchup was good. Like it should have been good, and it was. So that's nice, but normally you don't get those on Thursday. So I agree.
Well, does anybody have any sort of inkling it has to do with the fact that both teams played on Thursday the week before.
That probably helped a ton.
It definitely helped. Also, they're just like good. So
but they all got a full week's rest.
Yeah, that
is,
it was
no
the perfect storm. Good teams
yeah.
who were both well rested.
Good scheduling.
The Thursday, the Thanksgiving into the next week's schedule usually works out pretty good. But yeah, for me, I'm going to say 20-17 Titans. I agree with you guys. I think the Titans steal this one. I just think that it makes sense. They're at home. Colts, like you said, aren't actually that great. I think that they've just overachieved to a certain degree. So I'll give the Titans that one. Get Will Levis another win under his belt. Good for him. Last game in the meh category, which it wouldn't have been in meh until
it had such great potential.
It had great potential going into, like, if you would asked me like 3 weeks ago, like, oh yeah, it's great. Bengals Jaguars. Bengals have to go into Jacksonville with Jake Browning a quarterback.
Duval.
Yeah. This is not great. Not very good. The Steelers scored 16 points against this team and won last week, if that gives you guys any indication where the Bengals offense currently sits at. And the only reason it was even close is because they had like 3 deflections go right into the hands of receivers. I'm pretty sure Jake Browning would have had like 90 yards passing on 30 attempts if he would have not had that happen. What do you think on this one, Tony? What do you expect here?
So I'm going to use my blurb here as an opportunity to correct somebody. I was at Rheingeist Brewery in Cincinnati a couple weekends ago, right? And this is the week. So the Saturday after the Thursday Joe Burrow wrist injury.
Okay.
I was wearing Bills gear, and a Bengals fan like walked up to me. He's like, "Hey man, good luck this year. We need you now to take down the Chiefs. Like, we're all Bills fans here. Please, just when the Jaguars blow your doors off on Monday, flock to them." Yeah. We're not making the playoffs either. We're not your savior this year, people. No. So the Jaguars are going to win 42-3. They are the Bengals defense is terrible at allowing explosives. They you can get them in the explosive pass game. I think we're going to see Calvin Ridley activated deep again. We're going to see slot fades to Christian Kirk. We're going to see everything, and it's going to work. I also think that the Jake Browning offense, without those dropped interceptions turning into big receptions for Jamar Chase, isn't going to be able to do anything against a good Jaguars defense. So 42-3, it's a blowout. And stop looking to the Bills to save you. It is the Jaguars' job now. We're out of it.
Yeah, I understand that.
We'll take another opportunity as well. That's not.
Yeah. Go to the Dolphins. If you want an AFC East team, go to the one that's winning the division.
Yeah, not the Bills right now. What do you think, Zach, for this one?
So, I think it's actually interesting to talk about the Jaguars because like they've had their own bounce, like rough patch and bounce back over the past couple weeks as well. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had an awful game a couple weeks ago. I believe it was against Dallas. Was it
49ers? I think
the 49ers. Yeah, the 49ers. They got undressed and they had their bounce back of no. We're not going down like that. They currently sit third. The top of the AFC is going to be very, very interesting. Because they're all the same record. That's honestly why one of our interesting or must-watch games is probably one of the most important games for the NFC this week because it probably decides the seeding for the top at least. So all these games become so important, which means that every single one of these top seeds in the AFC is going to be fired up beyond all belief to win all these games. It doesn't matter who it is. There are no gimmies anymore. You're not going to be going into a game against like the Patriots and being like, oh yeah, we should win no matter what. It's like, no, we can't take this for granted because if we take this for granted, we lose this game, we lose out on possibly getting the 1 seed. So the Jaguars is going to be coming out here, guns blazing, ready to take down everything. I'm going to say like a 35-10. I'll give the Bengals one drive of something, 2 drives of something. But yeah, it's gonna be lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I think this is a week for the Jaguars to just kind of flex their muscles a little bit. They've been a team that's like they've certainly not disappointed overall. They're 8-3, obviously, but there's been just a lot of moments where I'm like, I wish there's things haven't been quite right on offense at times. The defense has definitely played better than last year, of course, Josh Allen's just having. Speaking of Josh Allen's this year, I mean, there's a big Josh Allen.
There's a couple of elite Josh Allens in the league.
There are a couple of good Josh Allen now, but like they've been really good overall. I think they still have a shot. Honestly, I still think they have a shot at the 1 seed because of their schedule. I don't think the schedule is particularly strong down the stretch. It really comes down to how the Ravens finish out and what the Chiefs can look like down the stretch too. But yeah, I think this week is very much a gimme for them. I'll say 31-10. I think they kind of just take the brakes off in the second half because they don't need to play their guys that long into the second half, honestly. It's kind of how I feel this game going. We'll see if the Bengals have some fight left in them, but it kind of felt last week they kind of gave their last best effort, and that was kind of the end for them. So let's move into interesting games. Start with my team because there's some things that have happened that I probably should speak on because I have not done so on this platform, at least. Other things I have.
Peep the hashtag.
Yeah, right. Peep the hashtag, guys. We deported Canada. Steelers Cardinals. So I'm conflicted on this one. I'll start just because obviously the Cardinals are obviously not a good football team this year. Kyler Murray coming back has made the offense more reasonable, but it hasn't been anything crazy or anything yet. To pick up one win with him. This is the type of game the Steelers tend to lose. They lose one of these every year. I have a feeling it might not happen this year just because of the change that was just recently made, and I think they're still trying to. They're gonna be very much up to continue that trend, the upward trend on offense. So I think that's going to be one thing that helps. But let me just talk about Canada for a second. I got to a point before he was fired where, like, obviously he was a huge issue, but I felt like Pickett especially had been playing pretty poorly within his scheme already, like the last few weeks especially. So I was like, okay, like if you fire him, that's good. Obviously, it gets you started for your next offensive coordinator. It gets him out of the building. But I didn't expect to see a significant change of any type with as far as how the offense played. I know the Bengals have had a rough year defensively. Just the things that I saw them attempt to do and succeeded doing tells me that the guys, right now it being Mike Sullivan and Eddie Faulkner kind of doing the combo to the offense coordinator right now, running back coach and quarterback coach. They definitely know exactly what this offense wasn't doing, and they're trying their damnedest to get them to do it. The first play of the game to Pat over the middle of the field, you get another one later in the game, 2 deep shots that get completed by Pickett later in the game to his receivers. Like everything that we hadn't been seeing all year happened in the Bengals game. And I think that matters a lot because just knowing that, okay, now they know what type of stuff they haven't been doing and they're going to try to do it gives me faith that this offense can get to a level where it's at least respectable, right? Where teams don't know exactly what's coming every week. They can't assume, oh, we just have to score 20 points and we're gonna win. That means a lot for the rest of the season for them. I don't know how much it raises the ceiling because I need to see the offense play more in the meantime to really get that. But I will say I saw much more difference in just their first week without him than I expected to, and it gives me a lot of faith. I'll say Steelers. I know my prediction on my other shows has been 28-17 Steelers at home, so that's what I'll go with. What do you think, Tony?
So, in tribute to the deportation of Canada, the Steelers had 400 yards in their
I didn't even
final
bring that
game
up,
before hiring Matt Canada. Did not have 400 yards in any game coached by Matt Canada, and in the first game since Matt Canada had 400 yards. That is poetry.
Yes.
Now, those 400 yards turned into 16 points.
Yes, exactly.
This offense is a whole lot better. I still don't know if it's good.
That's the question.
I loved what they were doing, attacking the middle of the field. The Freiermuth seam ball early in the game was just like, oh, they're taking themselves seriously now. Mm-hmm. Like, this is cool. This is real cool. They're doing the right things.
We're a serious football team again.
They're going to keep doing those things where they're trying to do the right things. Once again, at a certain point, like the players come into it and execution comes into it. And I still don't know if it's going to be like excellent football on the offensive side. On the Arizona Cardinals side, Kyler coming back has given them a little bit of juice, but like things haven't been great. He's been inaccurate. He's been missing Hollywood Brown on his deep shots. Trey McBride's breakout has been awesome. I think that offense is going to be able to move the ball. I don't know. I'm worried about how things turn out in the red zone for them. But my main thing here is I love the kind of stuff that Jonathan Gannon has been doing with the Cardinals defense. It hasn't been like good, but it's been interesting. And if you're not going to be good, you better be interesting. What they're doing with like the 3 safety looks, dropping Budda Baker into the middle and letting him just kind of like go everywhere. I think that is a really interesting defense to play against this new offense that is willing to attack the middle of the field. I am worried about some potential interceptions across the middle of the field from Kenny Pickett. There is, if the Bills do make the playoffs, this game needs to be a Steelers loss. So I'm going with my heart here more than with my head, because I do think the Steelers are probably a better team and they're at home. And why am I picking against Tomlin like this? Give me the Cardinals 21-18. Nice little fun upset. I think it's possible, so I'm going to predict it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will say one thing to keep in mind is Marquise Brown is not practiced this week at all.
He is not going to play.
I don't think he's going to play.
Greg Dortch loaded into my fantasy lineups.
Oh, yeah. Trey McBride's been banged up as well. So he looks more likely like he'll play limited. He had limited practice yesterday. Michael Wilson's out. Like, that receiving core is going to be really dwindled down, so it's going to make it harder. But yeah, I understand. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, exactly what you just said. All those factors of all the people being out and playing a much tougher defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be another low scoring game. It's going to be a lot of low scoring games this week. I 17-13 Pittsburgh. A nice Pittsburgh special. I would like to say like 24-27, because I do think that, last week they were able to move the ball. I think this week they could turn around and start converting some of those drives into points. But until I see it, I don't want to call it. So 17-13 Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I will say one of the reasons I predicted my score the way I did is because I predicted that Kenny would have his first 3 touchdown game in the NFL this week. That's something I want to see, because if he does that, I will be able to confidently say, okay, this offense can be something enough this year. It's not going to be great. I think if you could be the 20th best offense instead of like the 29th or 30th, that might be enough with the way the defense has been playing at times. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. But let's move to the Lions Saints. Lions. We talked about this pre-show, Zach. We think you have a reason why they lost. Yeah. They're destined to lose the Packers game.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you have to throw last week out. Last week doesn't count. The Lions were going to lose no matter what. It was destined.
Yeah, so I'll let you talk about that. But basically, Lions kind of got undressed on Thanksgiving, which is unfortunate because that's kind of their thing.
Got undressed the week before too. They just won.
They did. Yeah. The defense has been a problem recently for them.
But Jared Goff is also playing some of the worst football he's played since he's been a Lion.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like the Jared Goff that played the Steelers when Mason Rudolph had to start a game. I think it was like 2021 or whatever year that was. Yeah,
that was the year that McVay decided he was done with him.
Yeah. So it's definitely been rough for them the last couple of weeks. What do you think about this one, Tony? I mean, the Saints are the Saints too, so it's what do you think?
The Saints are so banged up with their receiving weapons. Like, nobody's gonna play. I think it's just gonna be A.T. Perry. Like,
Perry breakouts. No.
Hopefully Olave plays, but who knows? Either way, I don't think this team stresses the Lions defense. I think they're going to see the path being Alvin Kamara. So I think Alvin Kamara might set the record for touches in a game this season in this game, because you think about the Lions linebacker issues. That's where they're really hurting right now. I think they're just going to pepper him with targets and run him up the middle and hope for the best. I don't think it matters. The Lions offense is going to do plenty enough. I think that they're going to be really pissed at themselves for how the past 2 weeks have gone, and they are a well-coached team that will turn it around, and this is the game that it happens. So give me 28-17 Lions over Saints.
All right, fair enough. What do you think, Zach?
Yes. So for those of you who are not aware, the Lions have been playing on Thanksgiving since 1934, which means they've had a lot of data to go around on their wins and losses. And when there is a waxing gibbous on Thanksgiving, the Lions are now 0-13. So I'm sorry, Detroit fans. It was just it was going to happen no matter what. You didn't have a choice. That thus is the
literally
moon.
Written in the stars.
Thus is the moon. So anyways, yes, it's been 2 rough weeks for them back to back, and thankfully, it's been a while since you've been able to say this, but this is the one week where if you're the Lions, you can kind of get right with the way that the Saints defense has been playing as of late. It's been the one thing that they could always hang their hat on, and they can't right now. They like the pieces are gone. They don't. Marshawn Lattimore's on IR. Marcus May's out. Warner's out. Jordan's been banged up. There's a lot of pieces missing. We already talked about the offense. So you're sitting here as the Detroit Lions, like, okay, we need to get our mojo back. Let's go ahead and let's get the running backs going. Let's get David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who did play well last week. They did bounce back pretty well, and that's been a very good sign for them, is that they've been able to unleash this double-headed monster of Montgomery and Gibbs, and it's been pretty much flawless, somewhat akin to the Mostert Achane, but not quite the same. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens throughout the end of the season, but I definitely think that Jared Goff has a much easier game this week, not as detrimental to the Lions offense and the Lions winning hopes, and they win with ease. I'm going to say 27-13. But just because like the Saints just can't get out of their own way. Like they currently have 4 rostered QBs. Why? Like, what are you doing?
Hey, Derek Carr's probably going to get hurt. Jameis Winston's probably going to throw something crazy. But
I have a different prediction for Derek Carr.
Okay.
I think he is going to start a Matt Schaub level pick 6 streak.
Oh boy, that'd be fun. That'd be very fun.
Last week was entry 1. I think we get another one this week.
Do they play the Cowboys anytime soon?
That would be a good way.
That would be awesome.
I don't think they do, because
give Deron Bland another one.
Ridiculous. Like
how many pick sixes would it take for Deron Bland to get the MVP?
8.
Infinite. It would
I'll
never.
Say no, MVP. No, I think
he could have a pick 6 on every drive of the season, and I feel like they'd still give it to a quarterback.
I think defensive player of the year is 8. The number is 8 for me. I think if you score almost every other game on defense, I think you can win defensive player of the year regardless of what other people are doing. But MVP, yeah, I agree with Tony. Let me just say with the Lions Saints real quick, because you guys kind of handled it pretty good here. I do think Alvin Kamara, like Derek Carr, get ready to throw 20 balls to Alvin Kamara and for 78 yards. I can't wait for it.
Hey, don't disrespect Keith Kirkwood and Lynn Bowden Jr.
I will, and I just did. 20 targets.
Keith
for
Kirkwood, I heard on a fantasy podcast like literally this morning that he averages 2 receptions per year the last 5 years.
Yeah, isn't he an Alabama product from however long ago?
I don't even know.
That sounds right.
I have no idea.
That. Put me away in a cell somewhere. No. Anyway.
No, Temple.
Oh, Temple. That's better.
How does Temple have so many guys in the NFL? Low key, like an excellent.
They have a lot of guys.
Temple and Rutgers.
Yeah. Oh, I was okay. Yeah.
Rutgers is because of Bill Belichick.
Yeah. I will predict the Lions to win 28-17. I will say let me ask you this, because before we move on, if the Saints were to somehow pull this win out, does that make you start to kind of have the red alert going on the Lions a little bit after how they?
The red alert's there.
Yeah, I'm not ready to, because I feel like the defense can get it figured out at some point. But yeah,
I think it depends on what the win looks like.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I guess it depends on what the red alert means. Like, are they going to fall out of the playoff picture? No.
For me,
I think they are going to make a run in the playoffs? I already don't think that, because they're going to have to play on the road now, and that defense is bad. And it just.
Let me put that. Do you think that they win a playoff game at this moment in time?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they get the one at home.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at too. But I feel like if the defense can't figure something out here soon, a little bit, they could be in danger of losing just about anybody, even at home.
There's just things I can't put into the universe. They're going to be matched up with the Packers in the wild card round, and I can't put that out there.
Yeah. That would be devastating if they.
Oh my gosh.
No, anyway.
My gosh.
Let's move to Panthers Bucks. And before I let it over to Tony here to start us off, I think the funniest 3-game result you could get this week is if the Saints lose, the Falcons lose to the Jets, and the Buccaneers beat the Panthers, and they're all 5-7. With I think they'd all be 5-7. Yeah,
and then we
go.
And then we turn around and say, "Oh, we're doing this again."
Yeah, like you'd be like, oh, well, they're all 5-7. Let's restart the season. Let's go, guys. Like this,
It's
like
the Spider-Man meme.
yeah, no, but I don't think that's gonna happen. But Panthers to Bucks, they did it. I know Tony and I talked about this a few weeks ago. Like I admittedly I didn't think they'd actually do it. And I felt like I honestly just kind of felt like the writing was on the wall that it wasn't going to be a long-term thing, and that's why I felt like it might be worth doing, just because Tepper's not going to let him stay along anyway. But doing it 11 games in is certainly interesting. Letting Frank Wright go, firing him.
He lasted less time
than Urban Meyer, Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, David Tepper's
good luck getting the next guy in the building.
Yeah, he's certainly willing to shell out some money. And
I mean, he should just go ahead and coach the team himself, because I don't think anybody knows exactly what he wants.
I think we're getting anti-Raiders this year.
Yeah, he's the anti-Raiders. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna have all.
I have all the money. I'm gonna do whatever I want.
Like he's literally not shackled by anything. It's pretty amazing. Now, what do you think with this game, Tony?
I need to hear why you think this game is interesting. I didn't dispute it in the chat because I need to hear it.
It's solely because every time a head coach gets fired, we always are looking to see if there's that little spark that happens for that team.
Because,
like the Raiders
Shayne wants to know if the Buccaneers are going to send the NFC South into pure hell again.
That's also fair, but more so it's like, are we going to see that little spark, or are the Panthers so bad that spark has already been put out before it starts? That's what I want to see, because every time a head coach gets fired, that's what happens. The Raiders had it happen. Like, I want to see what this looks like. That's the only reason it's interesting. If they hadn't fired Reich, I might have left this game off. I might have put a college game in here instead today. I might have put one of those in. But anyway, go ahead.
Georgia, Alabama is going to be interesting.
Yeah, better game.
More NFL talent than this game.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so I approve. I figured there was something there. That's great.
Yeah.
We do look for the fired coach bump.
Yeah,
I do expect the fired coach bump.
Yeah,
but the bump doesn't guarantee you a win. It just guarantees that you'll be better.
Right.
They have a long way to go to be good enough to win. So
yeah, it's been rough.
I still think it's Bucks 20-14, but that's better than they've been.
Yeah, that is true. That's better than they've been. What do you think, Zach, this week?
No, I think the coach bump is going to come into full effect this week, and they're going to take advantage of the fact that Baker Mayfield is helming the Buccaneers, and they're gonna something's gonna happen, and it's gonna be 14-13 Carolina. It's gonna be another game where you have zero reason to be watching this.
Yeah. Despite it being interesting category, it's certainly a watch. Maybe if you have Game Pass, watch that later.
If you're a Panthers fan, maybe watch this, because you could get a win. You might get your second win this year.
And plus, there is no incentive to lose for you. Literally almost none at all. Because, your second round pick might be a little bit lower, but you're not getting the first over pick anyway. Go ahead, ruin it for the Bears if you can, by all means.
Do everything you can to ruin it for the Bears.
Yeah, that would be funny if the Patriots end up with the first pick or something, and then take, I don't know, Jerzon Newton or something. That'd be funny. No. Anyway.
Bo Nix.
Yeah, Bo Nix. No, that's the funnier one. That's who it would actually be. No, Lad McCon. That's who. Lad McCon.
The problem with that is, although he looks like the typical Patriots archetype, he's good, which means the Patriots can't touch him.
Yeah, they would get fooled, though. I think he might be the only way they could actually take a receiver that they normally think is what they want and not actually get it. Be like, oh, he's good. What the hell do we do? No, back to the Panthers Bucks. I think the thing I love about the Buccaneers this year is that you're getting the entirety of the Baker Mayfield experience, right? There's unbelievable money shots down the middle of the field that are unbelievable. And then there's other ones where you're like, dude, where are you throwing the football at? What's going on? And then him scrambling into nothing, or just getting pinballed around and then the backfield. It's just everything about Baker Mayfield that is true. It happens every game. And it's kind of awesome at times. I kind of like watching him play. But I do think the Panthers do get a little bit of a bump. I don't think it is good enough, though, to beat the Bucs. I think the Bucs, because they aren't out of it, because the NFC South is so ass, they're still playing for something, right? And against this team, if you can't win this game at home, That's tough. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. 21 to I'll say 17. I think the Panthers make it pretty close though. I will say it'd be so funny. I'm not expecting this, so I just want to put this out there that it's just too bad right now. But if Bryce Young had like a master class the first game, that'd be so funny. It's not going to happen. I'm just going to point that out. It's probably not.
It would be very cool. The NFL discourse would be wild.
Oh, it'd be insane. He's like, oh, what? And it's like the receivers are just so like not like it's not going to happen. But let's move on to Browns Rams. We have a Joe Flacco sighting, folks. It's officially Joe Flacco alert. They signed him to the practice squad, and boy is back in town. Literally, PJ Walker not going to be the starting quarterback. I assume will be the backup. I don't think he's hurt or anything. I did see though that Flacco is starting this game against the Rams. What do you make of that, Tony? You think it really matters a whole lot because the Browns kind of win the same way no matter what? But
wow, I didn't realize how tough that question was going to be.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
I don't think that like swapping out quarterbacks matters. Although I do think that swapping from the basically three guys who are the same exact person, just mobile and not all that good at football, swapping that for immobile 38-year-old who's not good at football while your two tackles are injured isn't the best way to do things. Probably not going to be a great day for Joe Flacco, but it wouldn't have been a great day for anybody else either. The story of this game is that I think the Rams are firmly back in the NFC playoff race, and I think they are built to win this game. And we've seen the Browns defense once or twice, despite like being really, really good. We've seen them kind of look human. Like
they've had a couple blow-up games.
The Colts did something to them.
They've had a couple blow-up games, yeah.
I think what the Rams are doing with how they're getting to do about all of these different packages, and then Cooper Kupp isn't what Cooper Kupp has been, but he's still capable out there. And then Puka Nakua's balling out. I think Stafford and those guys are going to be able to put points on these Browns. So I'm going to go 28-13, 28-19. Browns are going to do something weird to get some points. But I do think that the Rams are a much better team, and I think that they're kind of kicking the door in on the NFC playoff race right now.
Yeah, I think that's a very solid point because, again, the whole Joe Flacco thing is like, okay, you just want somebody who might be better at going through the offensive reads. Like, if that's what it is, like, I get it, but, like, you got to hope that the protection holds up because if it doesn't, we know he ain't doing anything about it. At least Walker, like you said, can at least evade the rush. And DTR had a few moments in the Steelers game at the end, and then also against the Broncos, he had a couple drives where he put something together. So I think if he was healthy, obviously it gives him a better chance. But it's just, it's not looking great. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, sorry. Ooh.
Oh, caught you there.
Caught him in a yard.
I mean, at least PJ Walker would be able to run from his troubles.
That's kind of I think that's kind of the point.
Like, there has to be other options than Flacco, right? Like,
I mean, honestly, why wasn't Flacco on the Jets?
Yeah, he was wondering about that. And they determined that Tim Boyle was a better option.
Okay, if that's your determinant, then I don't think you should be signing him to start him. Like that.
I also think
the
Jets
sense.
are just wrong.
Oh my gosh!
And the Jets are afraid of signing anybody that can threaten Rodgers.
But yeah, like it's just, I think that's going to end up hurting them more than it helps them. And like we said, like the Rams getting Kyron Williams back last week turned out to be huge. He ran all over the place.
Football, man.
Yeah,
just
slow, but he's good.
Yeah. I definitely I can see the Rams coming out, getting another victory. They're currently sitting I have it up over here. Yeah, but they are the 9th seed. So they're on the outside.
The Packers and the Vikings, I think, in a row, right? Is that right?
When they win, I think they jump the Seahawks because the Seahawks are 6-6 and they've got 2 in hand on them.
That is true.
I think a win puts them into the 7 seed.
As long as the Packers
too, right?
As long as the Packers don't win. If the Packers win, then the Packers go into the 7th seed.
Got it.
It's going to be a fight for that 7th seed.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun. So
really,
because the Packers beat the Rams.
All right, yeah.
Apparently, when the Packers? Oh yeah, 20-3. Wow, I forgot about that.
I do remember that game. Yeah, wasn't that the game that what's his face started?
Brett Rippon.
Yeah, Brett Rippon. Yeah,
yeah.
Good job on that one.
Yeah,
it started an NFL game.
Yeah.
No.
So I'm gonna say the Rams win this one. Like 24-13, 24-15.
Is that a 5 field goal prediction or a touchdown, 2 touchdowns with a 2-point?
1 touchdown and 1 touchdown with a 2-point conversion.
Okay, all right, just curious. I'll say 28 to. I'm only going to give him 10. Screw it. Flacco sucks. He's 38. Get him out of here. I don't care. It's good for him. He's still got a job. Good for him. I think it's funny he's playing for the Browns, though. That just cracks me up. I don't really know why, but it does. Chiefs Packers I had is only interesting solely for the fact that I like to think this could be a really good game because the Packers are playing much better. I just don't know. The Chiefs are so.
Hey, don't say anything to Packers fans. Jordan Love is a fantastic quarterback this season. He's doing just as great. He's just had a couple bad games.
It's been a very good Jordan Love year. I feel so vindicated from being high on him this offseason.
I mean, I was high on him in the offseason, but I mean, it hasn't been great. I mean, they still have a lot.
He had like an ugly dude. So the stats aren't going to be there because he's throwing to rookies. But watch the fucking ball. Oh my god, he will rip it into any spot. Oh, he's Stafford.
Oh, and that's where I will say that Jordan Love has made me eat my words for Aaron Rodgers. I think I said this a couple weeks ago that maybe Aaron Rodgers was right, and they do need to address the wide receiver situation and the pass catcher situation.
That was always the case. That's never.
But he masked a lot of the issues. Now you have Jordan Love, who, yes, he's throwing a fantastic ball, but no, you don't actually have a wide receiver 1. So.
Yeah, the thing I appreciate about
I think they've got 4 wide receiver 2s. I like the Packers a lot.
Yeah, I think the thing I appreciate the most about Jordan Love is that he is firmly one of those guys that's like, I don't give a shit. The ball is going up and 40 yards down the field. I don't care if it's open or not sometimes. I don't care if my receivers aren't good. They're getting a chance anyway. And there's something about that I respect, I will say. I got to give him credit for that. But what do you think about this game in particular, Tony?
I think Jordan Love's going to keep doing what he's been doing the past couple of weeks. And the Chiefs defense is elite. They're potentially one of the top 3 defenses in the league. I think Jordan Love's going to get his. What he is excelling at is putting the ball in the perfect spot on tight window throws.
Yes.
Yeah, the Chiefs are going to force you into tight window throws, but if you hit them, you hit them. And they're going to get tackled. The run after the catch not going to be there a ton. You really hope that Jaden Reed is healthy. And able to play, but I do think their offense is going to have some amount of success moving the ball. Chiefs offense, similarly, I think is going to have some success moving the ball, but this Packers defense has stepped up recently, and they're not playing bad ball. Their pass rush can kill you at any point in time. I think that this is a defensive slugfest, but we come away with it saying, yeah, those are 2 franchise quarterbacks. Obviously, there's no questions about Mahomes. We know what he is, but I think that in a game that is going to be low scoring in a defensive battle, we're going to come away from it talking about Jordan Love being a real quarterback. So give me the Chiefs sneaking by 17-14, but I think we're going to see some really good quarterback play on display here.
All right, what do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, really, the story for the Chiefs at this moment in time is are their wide receivers going to show up? Because Travis Kelce is going to be there. He's not the one with the drop issues. Pacheco has been fantastic this season, giving them a boost in the run game. But it's just the inconsistency from the wide receiver group of, are they going to catch the ball? Because you don't know if they're going to catch the ball or not. I mean, this team leads the league in drops this season. We talked about it earlier. It's basically just Mahomes doing everything he can to propel this offense down the field. And I don't have it up, but I imagine their 3rd and 4th down conversion rates are pretty substantial. As they are the only ones. He's the only one. It gets frustrating to watch, especially when you had that pass that was dropped in the Philadelphia Eagles game. Even last week they won, but there's still some instances where you're like, come on, this could be so much cooler. This could be so much more fun. So I think the Chiefs batten down, and really something's got to give at some point. They're going to Lambeau. This is going to be a true test of playoff weather. Not that they don't experience it that experience it themselves in Kansas City, but like you're going to like the quintessential like home of this is football weather. So I think they can grind one out. It's just gonna again. I think it's more targeting guys like Rashee Rice and getting their totals up, and not. I think it's time to just like bail on the Tony experiment, bail on some of those other guys, and just like focus on the dudes that are actually like giving you the return on investment and actually like giving you the production. Like they're trying to spread the ball out. I get it, but at some point it's like, yeah, no, when you pass to this guy, he's not going to make the catch, and you can't keep doing that.
Yeah. Did you give a score prediction?
No, I'll do Kansas City 23, Green Bay 21.
Okay. Yeah, the Chiefs for me, I think the biggest concern for me, and not only in this game moving forward, is their best receiver that isn't Travis Kelce is Rashee Rice, probably, right, as a rookie and a second round pick. That's not what they were hoping for going in the year. It's not how they thought this would play out. I think Rice has played very well, especially considering like I didn't really view him as a very high level prospect to me because I felt like what he did in college wasn't really going to translate. And admittedly, he hasn't played that way with the Chiefs. They used him very differently. So that's part of why he's had success. But I think ultimately the Chiefs don't have somebody that they can lean on other than Travis Kelce. And there's been times this year where Travis just doesn't quite get it done. And he is 34 years old, right? Like you can't ask him to be the entire focal point of an offense forever, right? And I think this year they've really kind of suffered from that. I think something they have to do, and they've done it at times this year, but I think they really got to lean on the ground game at times more. Because I really think Pacheco is a good player. I really think he can handle a heavy workload. I think even though like he's not a frontline guy like they want him to be, I think Hilaire when he's healthy is also a decent running back. I really do. I think you can give him some carries too. It's just they have to try something a little bit different than they've been trying, and I wonder if it's going to happen before the playoffs start. I assume so. Reed's going to figure something out for this team to get them more on track. I think this week they can come out with a win, even though I think the Packers are going to play them very hard, like you both said. I'll say 24-21. I do think both quarterbacks are going to kind of show a lot despite the lack of points, and especially Love. I do think he can put some points on the board. Let's get to our last two games for the must-watch games. Let's do Broncos-Texans first. We'll leave the last game for that's going to be the big one. Broncos-Texans. Both teams just on the outside of playoff picture right now in the AFC, but whoever wins this game should be the 7th seed unless the Colts can finish up against the Titans, which again we predicted they wouldn't. So there's a very high chance that whoever wins this game will be the 7th seed going into next week. What do you think on this one, Tony? Because this is an interesting game for me. The Broncos are on heater. Obviously, the Texans are coming off kind of a heartbreaker a little bit there. What do you think about this one?
I think this is a really interesting game, really cool game. Two teams that we didn't really expect to be playoff contenders. One of these teams is probably going to be in the playoffs.
Yes,
it'd be surprising if one of them weren't at this point.
Yeah.
It's tough to gauge. The line being Houston -3 is interesting to me because that kind of just implies that they're even teams and Houston's at
on a neutral
home.
field. It's yeah.
And I almost think that the Broncos should be it should be like they should be like 1.5 point dogs, not 3 point dogs. I think they're a little bit better just because of the complementary football they play. Their defense really locks it down and forces turnovers. Now turnovers aren't sticky; you're not guaranteed to get them week to week. But what they've been doing and how they've been getting them has been repeatable. So they just you can tell they're a well coached team. The Sean Payton effect. You can tell they're a well-coached team. Texans also a very well-coached team, but I wonder if the youth starts to hurt them late into the season. And I think the Broncos come in and pull this one off just because at a certain point, Russ's experience matters. He's not playing his best ball. He's not doing all of the things he's doing, but all of the talk of them doing everything they can to limit him isn't true anymore. It was true earlier in the season. It's not true anymore. They're letting him cook. I think that they do sneak by, and I think it's on one of those classic Russ theatric plays, probably a Cortland Sutton toe drag in the end zone because that's how they kill everybody. Can tell I still feel pain. But
Sutton is doing some wild stuff this year.
Yeah, the one thing that could blow this all up is just CJ Stroud going nuclear like we know he can. I do think that Baron Browning can heat him up with Titus Howard going on IR. I think that Pat Surtain has, really stepped into another level in this back half of the season. So the defense, I think the defense can get him. And I think they're going to bait him into something late to just steal the game. So give me 23-20 Broncos winning, a really exciting game that wouldn't have been exciting if you told me, like when I saw it on the calendar, a couple months ago.
Yeah, I understand that one for sure. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, actually, speaking of CJ Stroud, give me a dark horse MVP candidate. If Houston is able to make a substantial push into the playoffs and get up to, I would say, the 5 seed, if they're able to win out and it's on the arm of CJ Stroud, he's already put together a pretty impressive enough season this year with the amount of wins that they've stacked up that I think you could push an argument for him to be like, I think you have to have the conversation of the rookie getting MVP. Cause he's been fantastic. He's been the exact opposite, I think, of what everybody was expecting coming into the season. They're playing well. And I think you're right. It is going to take, because on top of them playing well, Vance Joseph has been calling a impeccable string of defensive play callings. Like it has been jaw-dropping. Like we've talked about a couple other defenses this year, but the turnaround and the stark difference of night and day between the beginning of the season.
He took his lumps, but he got
it out. When you take 70 points, that's one hell of a lump. So
it's tough.
So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I think the Broncos are more solid overall as far as roster construction from from 1 to 53, whereas I think the Texans have enough pieces to where they could enough pieces in their roster to make a splash and make a small run. But it's going to take all of those pieces doing absolutely everything they can. So I'm going to pick Texans to win today or tomorrow. And I'm going to do 28-21. I think Stroud comes out here 4 touchdowns, just lights it up.
Yeah, I think that when you talked about the MVP case situation, I talked a few weeks ago about that, and I felt like if Stroud were to take this team to the playoffs and do so in the fashion that he had been playing up to that point when I was talking about it, I think that he at least deserves some recognition. Obviously, he's not going to win it. He's not only is he a rookie, but there's going to be other quarterbacks that are at least similar in terms of statistical success and everything else with better records. That's not going to happen. But I think that he at least deserves that conversation being had about him if he continues to play like this. The Broncos, to me, are definitely the way that they've come around this season over the last 5 games in particular. It's really – I got to give credit to Sean Payton, but also to Russell Wilson for playing within himself this year, for understanding, okay, this is who I am as a quarterback at this point. This is how we can be successful. And I think he's playing his role very well. He's now much more of that role player than he is the star of the team, right, like it was the Seahawks. And I think that that's mattered a whole lot for a team that can run the ball very well, that can get timely plays in the passing game because Russ is ready for that situation when it comes up. But again, the Texans are at home. They have the better quarterback. I think the better offense overall. The defense is going to be what comes down to. Can the Texans defense play well enough against this kind of style of play that the Broncos have been playing to give the Texans a chance to win the game just by outscoring them? And I think that they can in this case. I'll say 24-17 in this case for the Texans. Zach, you look like you wanted to say something. What's up?
No, I just realized that I was looking at this statistics, and Sam Howell has 55 sacks, and there's still 5 games left. He's absolutely breaking that record.
It's certainly within reach.
Isn't the record in the 90s though?
No, 70.
He was on pace to be in the 90s. Okay,
yes.
I think it's 70. What, 4, 8?
I think it's just 70. It's David Carr, right?
It'd be David Carr, yeah. Now I'm curious.
He has really slowed that pace down, so I worry he won't break the record. I apologize to Sam for saying that I worry he won't break the record.
But
it'd be cool.
76. So you got to be sacked 22 times in the last 5 games it is?
Man, and I thought Tannehill's season in 2013 was bad.
Yeah, 76 is nightmare fuel.
That was only 58.
Yeah, that is nightmare fuel. That's there's a reason why David Carr didn't really do a whole lot, and that's probably part of it. Was you get shellacked that way your first season. That's tough.
Although Sam Howell has to be not good.
Sam Howell has now been sacked the same amount of times as Russell Wilson and Justin Fields were last season. So,
hey, getting ahead of the curve. Got to be elite at something, right? No, 49ers, Eagles, our last game. Very telling, or not telling, very this is the game of the week, right?
Yeah. Oh,
obviously. This is going to tell us a lot, I think, about the NFC. This is going to tell us a lot about these two teams. I'm very curious to see. I mean, the Niners going on the road definitely hurts for them coming across country to play the Eagles. Same thing would have been the case if you flipped it, obviously. But this is going to be, very interesting to see how they play on offense at the Eagles. So, what do you think, Tony, for this one?
I think it's a little crazy for Vegas to be handicapping this. Philly a 3-point underdog at home. I do think that the 49ers win, but I'm kind of mad at Vegas for why aren't you calling the Eagles favorites here? Give me a little plus money on this thing. But so the reason that I think the 49ers win comes down to the spine of Philly's defense. We saw it last week, and I mean, whenever they play good offenses, they get got. Allen had his way with them. They were able to run the ball with ease. Really easy to get after these linebackers. Kevin Byard's a help in the safety room, but he's just one guy. Definitely helps with taking away George Kittle, but there's a lot of other options out there they can go to.
The Niners do that sometimes just because anyway. They're just like, they just forget about him.
We don't need him this week.
Yeah, they just kind of forget about him sometimes. Less so this year, but still.
Yeah, so they're going to have those linebackers in a blender. They might be down. They're down to depth, and they were already they've got guys injured. Zach Cunningham probably isn't going to play. You're really reaching into the bottom of the bag there. Eagles offense, yeah, they're probably going to be able to do some stuff. You can gash the 49ers in the run game. You know what the Eagles are really good at? The run game. I think so what hurt the Eagles last week, and they were able to turn things around in time, was that they really were trying to go for the pass approach early in the game, and the Bills were shutting it down. But you saw it that second drive of the second half when they started to run the ball inside with Swift. Lanes happen, 34 yards run happen, and the comeback happens. So if they stick to that game plan the whole time against a 49ers D that can be got through the run, they're going to have no trouble putting up points. If they pivot over to the passing game just because they're getting antsy and want to start getting those guys involved, I worry that the pass rush for the 49ers is going to be able to do some things. We saw the ball security last week wasn't great. So I do think that the Eagles will be able to keep pace, but this is an offensive game, and I'm going to pick the better offense. So give me the 49ers 35-32. Really, really exciting game I'm expecting. And I do think that the 49ers just have that little extra chip on their shoulder because they probably feel as though they didn't even get a chance to play Philly because of their quarterback situation in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to bring that up. I think that is a big talking point going into this game, the way that these teams feel about each other currently at this point in time. What do you think, Zach?
I feel like this game only tells us everything we need to know about Philadelphia. I think we already know everything we need to know about San Francisco. They showed us everything we need to know in their 3-game stretch, and then in the answer to that 3-game stretch, which was coming back and being a defining NFC contender that they have shown that they were at the beginning of the season. There's still so many questions about Philadelphia because I agree. Who said it? I think it was Dan Orlovsky who said when you came away watching the Kansas City and Philadelphia game, he felt like Kansas City was the better team. I kind of felt that way too because it wasn't like Philadelphia put Kansas City away. They squeaked by. They've been squeaking by all season. This is not Philadelphia from last year where they were just destroying teams. And congratulations, you did what pretty much what nobody had done with Mahomes and Andy Reid, but very few people had done against Andy Reid and beat them out of a bye week. But there's just too many games that are just way too close. It's not like Giants or Vikings level, but it's enough to be like, y'all are a good team. You play great games. You get to the end, but at some point you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose. And last year it was in the Super Bowl. So It's just been what we've been saying we've been missing from Philadelphia the entire season is just that where is that offense? Like it's just not the same. The rushing game is always going to be there, but again, you can't be one dimensional in the NFL. If a team can just sit there and key in and say, "Hey, we want to stop the run, we want to stop the run, we want to stop the run," and you can't rely on your other half, which AJ Brown has had a fantastic season, but it's just too inconsistent right now. Like they need to be the dominant force that they've been and they were last year on all aspects of the ball in order to keep going, especially with the questions that they have on defense. Because if all these other teams are going to be able to score as well, you need to have your offense firing on all cylinders and all aspects in order to be the number one team. So I think really what this game is going to tell us is Philadelphia the number one team in the NFC? If they lose just because they have the record of 10-2, I don't think it makes them the number one team. Yeah, they have the number one team in record, but it's an open tier again. And we're stuck here saying, oh, is the top of the AFC really that much better than the AFC or the NFC?
Yeah. What's your score prediction?
So I do think San Francisco wins this game. And for a lot of the reasons that Tony outlined, but also just because like it's close and San Francisco doesn't play close games. When they play close games, they win. They have that identity. And I really, the bigger thing is I think Nick Sirianni is due for a little bit of a humbling. So I'm going to say San Francisco 30, Philadelphia 24.
Okay. So I'm going to go against you guys a little bit, but that's mostly because I feel like with this Eagles team, last year they were dominant. This year they are clutch. And I think it's very interesting to see how some of these games have played out. Like I think of some of the plays in the Bills game, like the Zacchaeus touchdown, right? Where it's like, holy shit. Like just wild. Like they figure out a way, it feels like, to make plays specifically when they need them. Where last year they were creating them at will almost. This year they're creating them when they have to. And obviously that is not the best way to sustain wins. There's a reason why there's been so many close games for them, and some games you're like, they could have lost that one. They could easily not be 10-1. They could be 7-4 or 8-3. Like it's very possible.
7 of their 10 wins are one score.
Exactly. Yeah. Now again, do I think that they can do that against the Niners? I think it gets much harder because that team obviously has a lot of firepower. I think them having to travel to Philly, I think the fact that the Eagles at this point they know how to win these games. And I'm not saying the Niners don't. I got to give them a little bit of an edge being at home. I think if this was in San Francisco, I might pick the Niners by like a full touchdown, honestly. I think that would be pretty fair to do. I think I'll give them credit that they can get it done at home. And then I think if they see this team again in the playoffs, everything kind of goes out the window. But I think that in this game, I'll give Philly the benefit of the doubt 31-28. I think the Niners play very well. I think the Eagles make the play at the end of the game to win, as they've done a lot this year. So
if they win this game, Nick Sirianni is going to be just like
he will be.
It's going to be so annoying.
Yeah, I get it. But no, that'll do it for us this week, guys. Any other comments you guys want to make about the week or anything going on with the NFL?
Really needed this bye week. I am so happy that I didn't really have to talk about the Bills like predictively.
Yes.
It's because nothing more painful than watch them. They're a good team, right? But that they're the anti-Eagles in that if there is a bad play to be made at the end of the game, they will
find it. They search for it.
I will be missing the Dolphins game this week because the last 3 weeks has played perfectly, or 4 weeks has played perfectly for my my disc golf league that I've been playing on Sundays. It starts at 1:30, but I have not been doing well. I've only had one really good week, but it's also my first events, so
disc golf is fun, man. I've played. I'm very weirdly good at throwing a frisbee because my dad and I used to throw frisbee when we'd go camping, and we'd get like 200 yards from each other and just like throw it right toward each other's hands.
Oh, shit.
Funny. Yeah, it's very. It was. I don't know why or how we got to that point, but it was very funny. But that'll do it for us this week, guys. Then we'll talk about the games next week. We'll kind of recap how things went for us this week. We don't really do that much. I think we should try to kind of I might try to keep track of that, even though I know it'll make me very sad. I'm sure we're not doing that great.
I don't have my score predictions written down anymore like I used to.
Yeah, I feel like we're not doing that great, but
last season I had a full Google document from when we started until the end of the season of all my score predictions. I do not have that this year.
That's probably for the best. I feel like we have. I mean, I would
very
have to
happy I don't track it like that.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't done that great. I will say before we get out of here, I had a parlay bet last week that I had every game on the schedule, only missed 2 games.
Not bad.
I was upset. And it was in the early window, so I didn't even have a chance to cash out or anything. It was the early window. So I think it was the Texans, Jaguars, and forget who else. Yeah, but all right, I'll let you guys go, though. We'll get back to you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. And again, enjoy the NFL week this week. We have big college football today, too. Washington, Oregon was
championships
big last week. So, but all right, we'll see you guys